Have I trained him that when he makes a call, I'm going to second guess him? I don't know if I'd do that. But to give the cover my own ass response, I'm training people not to make decisions. Ultimately, how are you interacting with your team? What are you missing? So let's think about some of those 92 mistakes that you might have made. I got asked the other day, I was just kind of got done with a little fundamentals of leadership talk, maybe an hour I'd been talking, and get to some Q&A, and I get asked, how do I give direct orders without seeming like a dictator? You see, if you have to give an order, if you have to bark an order at someone, you've already messed up. If you have to yell at someone, you've already messed up. If your first attempt, your first salvo is a direct order, then you're making 92 other mistakes as a leader. What are you missing? So let's think about some of those 92 mistakes that you might have made. So if you're a person that right now is thinking, yeah, but sometimes you got to just tell people what to do. I get it. I get what you're saying. But I'm telling you, you're messed up. Let me ask you some questions. Have you made sure that they know what the mission is? Because if they don't know what the mission is, guess what you got to do? You got to bark an order at them. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. They don't know what the mission is. They don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. And when something changes, you got to bark an order at them. That's what's going to happen. Have you let them come up with a plan? Because if I let Dave come up with a plan and something changes, Dave adjusts the plan. If I came up with a plan and now something changes, I got to bark an order at Dave. He doesn't know what to do because I came up with the plan. It's my plan. I have the deeper vision. So I'm the one that's going to have to bark an order. Let me ask you this. Have you trained your team to make decisions? Because if I haven't trained Dave to make decisions and make things happen, he's not going to make decisions. He's not going to make things happen. And guess what I'm going to have to do? Bark an order. It's, going back, I did an FTX a while ago, and I was talking about the fact that when Seth and Leif, who were my two platoon commanders in Task Unit Bruiser, when they showed up in Task Unit Bruiser, they had actually been trained not to lead. And there's a bunch of ways that they do that in the SEAL teams. They train those junior officers not to lead. Hey, you don't know what you're doing. Hey, get in the back of the train. Hey, you're inexperienced. Hey, the chief handles this. They literally train them not to lead. And it's a bunch of ego that trains people not to lead. Unlike Tony Efrati, who is Leif's chief, who's like, hey, Leif, sir, you put this word out. It's better to have it coming from you. Oh, okay. His ego is just so strong. He doesn't care. But if you are not training your people to make decisions, guess what you're going to have to do? Bark orders. If you've trained people to make decisions, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to bark orders because they already look like Dave's looking back at me like, hey, I got this. I'm going to move over here now. Cool, great. Instead of me going, hey, Dave, move over there now. Why? Because I actually trained him not to lead. So if you're not training people to lead, you're going to have to lead them, which sometimes means I'm going to have to communicate to them in a dynamic way, in a very short, curt fashion, which means I'm barking orders at people. Now, can something happen that was so totally unexpected that now, and Dave at his level on the battlefield can't see what I say, and I say, Dave, you need to get back to building 34 now. Can that happen? Yes, that can happen. Should be rare. Have you made sure that your people know the end state? Do they know where they're going? Because if they don't know where they're going, you might need to bark at them and tell them which direction to move in because they don't know where they're going. They don't know where they're going. So you're going to have to tell them where to go. No, Dave, move to the right. Okay, well, I'll move to the right now. If he would have known that we were looking to end up over the right, he would have moved by himself without me saying anything. Have you ensured that your team feels confident that you will support them when they make decisions? When they are default aggressive, does your team think you will back them up? Because if they don't think that, guess what? They're not making a call. They're not making a call. And guess who's going to have to make the call now? You are, and you're going to have to bark orders. Have you created a precedence that when someone on your team makes a call, you're going to give them the support that they need. Because if that's the precedence, if every time Dave makes a call, I say, got it, Dave, here's the support you need. Guess what? I'm training him like one of Pavlov's dogs to go out and make decisions because he knows I'm going to give him the support that he needs. Or have I trained him that when he makes a call, I'm going to second guess him? Because if Dave is expecting to get second guessed, he's not even making a call. Then guess what I got to do? I got to bark orders, which is terrible. Be careful of little half suggestions without any explanation. Like Dave says something like, hey, Jocko, I think we should go over to the West. And my response is, I don't know if I'd do that. You ever had that kind of leadership?
100%.
I'm covering my own ass by halfway negating your call, but I'm still letting you go do it. These are the kind of leaders that you won't get decisive subordinates. You will end up having to bark orders all the time. Because Dave only needs to hear that one time before he shrugs his shoulders and looks at me and says, what do you want me to do, boss? Because he doesn't want to hear him. I don't know if I'd do that. Horrible. If there's something I don't think Dave should do, I'll be like, hey, Dave, have you thought about this? And Dave says, ooh, I did think about that, and here's my response, and here's what we're going to do if that happens. Oh, okay, great, you got it covered. Or he says, oh, no, I hadn't think about that. That actually makes it seem like a bad idea. Let me think about it more. But to give the cover my own ass response, I'm training people not to make decisions. So, ultimately, how are you interacting with your team? Because if you interact correctly all the time, then every time you interact with your team, you're actually training them to be able to step up and be able to lead. Every time you let someone make a call, it helps them learn how to make calls. So every time you let someone make a call, every time Dave says, hey, Jocko, I think we should hit the target from the north, and I go, sounds good, I trained him like Pavlov's dog to make things happen, to make decisions. Every time I make the call, every time I say, hey, Dave, we're hitting the target from the north, get in line, I just trained him not to make a call. He's learning. He's in the habit now of waiting. He's in the habit of not making calls, which leads to me barking orders. And the interesting thing about this is this idea of informal training, which we talk about, we just got done talking about them at the muster, which is, hey man, if I can sit down with you for 7 minutes and do a role play on some leadership situation or some contingency scenario. And that 7 minutes of training is totally legitimate. But on top of, you got formal training, which is, hey, Dave, we're going to go to a 2-week class on how to make decisions. Then we got 7 minutes of me saying, hey, let's talk through this scenario and what decision would you make? And that's also training. Then life is training. Just living life is training. And life and work are all just training opportunities. So every time we need to do a proposal for a client, it's an opportunity for Dave to do that proposal. Every time. Every time there's a question from a client, there's an opportunity for Dave to take and lead on that answer. Every time we do a mission, it's an opportunity for Dave to come up with a mission plan. These are real world things. These are what happens every day. And by the way, this happens with your kids every day. This happens with your employees every day. This happens with your team every day. Everything that's going on around you is an opportunity for you to train. So if you're in the habit of bossing people around or of giving direct orders or of telling people what it is they need to do, take a step back, detach, and start training your people to lead instead of training them not to lead.
Yeah, I think the thing they said that resonated and hit the most is you're also training yourself. You're training yourself not to trust them. You're training yourself not to apply decentralized command and all the things that sit underneath that, the relationships, the communication, all of those things. Every time you're barking an order, you're training yourself. That's a pretty powerful thing.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hey, if you want to get into these a little bit deeper, or you want to talk to us directly, you go to extremeownership.com. You can join our online leadership academy. We talk about this stuff. This stuff is what we live for. And in the meantime, thank you for listening to us debrief. Now go lead. This is Dave and Jocko out.